Okay, so today, right, what we are going to discuss is we'll continue our discussion on browser context. So there was two things which were pending on browser context, which we'll finish today, first of all, and then we'll move towards page. So browser context, here we have discussed about two category of methods. One is cookies, and second on the pages, right? So both were done. The third thing which we want to understand is the events. Okay, so there are if you remember in case of browser, right, we have only one event, and that event was a browser.on. It was, I believe, close, right? So if you close the browser, Playwright provides you a mechanism through which you can set up a event, right? And once that event occurs, the code which you have written in that in this block, right, would get executed every time, right? So it's like a listener, right, listening to that event to happen. Similarly, in case of browser context, right, there are events which you can control, and there are many of them. But for us, right, we would be focusing on three or four of them. So those are one of those is definitely close, similar to browser. So you could also close a browser context, or let's say close a browser, or let's say close a page, right? So accordingly, it will function. Second of all, on this was you could have if you there is something called page. Okay, I will discuss about it. The third one is the dialogue, and the fourth one is the console. Okay, so these are the events which we need to understand at the browser context level, and we'll see like what are these. Once we cover all this, right, I will also talk about one more method which awaits for us, like which is in browser context, which is wait for event. So there is another method, right, which is similar to that event mechanism, right, which is like a listener for an event. But how this is different to this, we'll talk about. Let's get started. Let's go to over here. We'll go to our APIs. Over here, we have browser context. If you go to browser context, again, we have only talked about the methods which are really meant for our purpose, and we have seen them. Okay. Timeouts I have ignored as of now. Timeouts we'll discuss afterwards. Okay, so what we are talking about, we're talking about these events. Okay, you can see there are so many events which are available at the browser context level, but what we are interested in, close, console, dialog, and page, request, and all these are related for the API, not for the web automation. So what is meant for us is these four: close, console, dialog, and page. Right now, again, let's go to our code first. I have day 10 test case 4, and we'll write sync and we'll provide context, and let's see what can happen here. So in case of if you remember, right, at the browser level, when we were doing things, we created a event, I mean a listener, right, for the event, like this, right? This way you're creating an so this way you're creating a listener on this event, right, on this event. So let me just tell you, right? So there is something like as I was explaining last time. Let's say there is an event, right? So let's say this is like the monitoring space which will be monitored by someone, and that someone would be called as a listener. Okay, let's say a person, right? A person who is listening to this, right? And I've told him that okay, there could be hundreds of events here, but you have to make sure you have to tell me once that specific event occurs. So whenever so I have, let's say this is a listener, right? So I've asked this listener, okay, please go and monitor this space, and whenever someone closes the browser, right, tell me. Okay, so when let's say the browser closed, right, let's say this event occurred here, right, in this space. As soon as the close occurred, right, what was happening was this listener, right, was notifying, right, and I have told him that keep listening to this, keep listening to this, and whenever this happens, right, take some action, take some action, right, and that action part, right, we were specifying after this, right, through the function body. Okay, so what happens here is this is the first job, we create a listener. Second part is we ask him to listen to a particular event. And third, once that event occurs, we ask him to take some action. Okay, 1, 2, 3, right? This way. So till we have seen in the case of browser, this way we created a listener. We said, okay, whenever this browser gets disconnected, right? Whenever this browser gets disconnected, run this take this action. This is the piece of action, right? So what will happen is it will keep on listening in this test case, and whenever this part happens, right, across these steps, it will get executed. And this is how it was running. Similarly, the case with the browser context. So if we go here, right, context dot on, right, and if you see, right, you already got all these options, right? So what we are interested in, let's say, if we talk about close, right, close, if you see close, right, okay, you will not get it here. Let me show you some documentation. Close. Emitted when browser context gets closed, right? This might happen because of one of the following: either the browser context got closed, right, or either the entire browser got closed, right, through browser.close as a method, or let's say there is a crash, right, which has happened, and you can see, or someone would have called this method, okay, and right, or someone would have called this close method on this browser context. So let's see this, right. What we'll do is we'll go here, right, on the close part, and we'll say if someone triggers this, right. So what we did over there, we just ran it, right, because hey, heavens,
Yeah, good morning.
good morning. We'll say close browser context got closed. Anand, for your reference, what we are discussing is we are discussing about the events available on the browser context. Okay, so we have already discussed cookies and pages last time. We are discussing about events.
Okay.
Okay, and I just told like how events work. So there's a concept of a listener, right? So when you say, if you look at this piece of code, right, when you said browser.on, right, what we are doing is we are creating a listener, right? So it's a first step, and that listener will listen to what? To a particular event. What is that event? This is that event, right? And once that event occurs, right, in your test case, it needs to take some action. What action? That action is specified here.
Okay.
Okay. So on the similar concept, browser context also works. This is for the browser. We have to see the browser context, right? So I'm working on this, right? You can see. And there
Okay.
are, in case of browser, there was only one event, but in case of browser context, there are many. There are many here. If you would see in the here, right, there are many events here. But for us, only four are meaningful: close, console, dialog, page, which we are discussing.
Okay.
So we are creating an event here, right? We are creating a listener. So if this occurs, I want to say that browser context got closed. Okay, great, right? So let's do one thing. What I will do here is let me create a new page. Context dot new page, and once we get this page, and this will return me what? This will return me a promise of page, right? Let's put await here. Let p1 equals to this, and what we'll do is p1 dot go to https what says dot on. Okay, so this is one thing, browser context. Let me also collect the browser. Okay, what I want to do with the browser is if I'm closing. Okay, so this is this. Okay, so you understand this, right? So this is the event which will get registered. This is the listener which will get registered for this event, and we have specified what action to take if that event occurs. Then so this will be like listening in the background, right? It will keep on listening in the background, and it will move ahead. It will move ahead in the execution, and it will run this, right? It will run this, and this time here, right, it will create a new page on that context. So you will see a browser getting opened up, and then you will see that it is hitting this URL, right? So this is done. Great. Now I will do what? I will say context dot close, right? This will do what? It will close my browser, correct? It will close my that session, right, on the browser. Closes the browser context. Okay, great. So let me do an await on this. Okay, fine. Now you will see the browser gone away. So you can see it says browse context or close. So if this is getting triggered, what will happen? It will print this line. Event occurred, right? Here the event occurred, and as soon as the event occurred, what will happen? The listener will be notified. and he will take some action. What action? This action, right? Let's run this and see what happens here. Oh, I did one mistake. I have to put await here. You see, it opened the browser, it could close, and you can see, right, it printed this line, browser context dot close. Let me do one thing. Let me just show you where it got printed. Let's print some lines here. Console dot log execution started, right? And here in the end, right, I would say execution ended. Okay, fine. Let's run it again. So you will see what? Tell me the execution sequence which you will see. How the logs will be printed? Let me ask Gunjesh. Gunjesh, tell me if this test case gets executed, what is the sequence of outputs which you will see? Okay, Gunjesh doesn't seem to be there. Okay, so this also got printed. Okay, see this, right? What happened here? This is the listener which got registered. So this is listening, right? This action has not been taken since this event has not happened. It moved ahead. It got this line. It printed this. Execution started, and then it opened the web page. Get got to hit the URL, and then we are closing the context. As soon as the context gets closed, the event got fired, and this line got printed. You can see here. And then what happened was I printed this line. Okay, let's take this one level ahead. What I will do now is, see, you can do anything here, right? You can do any of the thing here, your own thing, right? If you see, right, what does own returns you? It returns you browser context, right? It returns you browser context only. Okay, so but again, it will not be of use for you. But so this is how you can do. So you can write your things right on it, whatever actions you might want to take, right, once that context is closed. Just for the namesake, I'm printing this line, but you might be thinking to do some take some meaningful actions on it. Okay. Okay, one more thing. So if you see this here, right, what happened here was there was a browser. There was a browser. Okay, let's not draw this. Let's say there is a browser, right? There's a browser, and from that browser, a context was formed, right, where the page was opened and the URL was hit. It was showing this, right? This is the browser context. What I did was I closed this context, not the browser. I did not close the browser, right? What I will do next? What I will do next is I will create the context again, but that will have no purpose because okay, okay, okay. So okay, tell me which object in my code is referring to this context. This one, right? This context thing.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
My question is, if you see this, right? Currently, this is what is happening, right? You understand this part? There's a browser and there's only one single context within it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's a page within it, right? There's a page within it where the URL is being hit and it is showing you the web page. Now I'm asking you, right? So this page is represented by P1, right? Because I'm creating this.
Mm-hmm.
Who is representing this context? Which
Context.
context, right? This one, right? Now I have created an event, right, on this context, which is this part here, right? Now, if I create a new context from the same browser, okay, how can I create a new context? Anyone?
Context of new page again.
No. Context got closed, right? So
Con-
there is
that,
so the
okay,
session got closed.
session got closed
So you
and
need
you
to create a new
have
session.
new session. So then, uh, like, uh,
You will
in
go to the browser, right, and
the
ask the
web
browser to
department
create a
or-
new session.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
what is the method for it? You will need the access to the browser, right?
Browser
So
object.
that's
Yeah.
why I have injected this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's create a new context, right? and let's collect this. Await. Let's C2, right? C2 here. So new context returns you promise of browser context. So C2 has access to it now, right? So now what happened because of this? A new session is formed, and this is termed as C2. Okay. Last time when you created an event, right? You created on this context. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Anand.
Akhil, just a query. Is it possible to initiate a new context on the on close event?
Is it possible to create a new here, right?
Yeah, new instance of browser when we do the on close.
I think you can do it. You can just because you have the access to the browser here, right? You can do it. You can do this new context, right?
Okay.
It is on to you what you really wanted to achieve. And let me create one variable which will hold this value, right? Otherwise, it will not be able to do so. Uh, let let C3 let C3 is the browser context, and the C3 will attain the value inside this. Okay, right?
O- Okay.
And when you close, see okay, if you check your C3 here, right? What it will be? It will be undefined, right? If I check my C3 value of C3 here,
Mm-hmm.
C3 here, what will be the value? Undefined.
Yes.
You can see, right? It is currently saying this is used before being assigned. So it will be unassigned or unassigned, right? That part here. So this is one thing. But if this event has happened, right, what will happen? C3 will attain a value. And but since your code will not be knowing this, right? If you see this here, right? How would Playwright know that okay at C3 it will attain a value? You know at runtime it will, right? Because you have triggered the event, and that event trigger, right, would call this, it will run this, right? So again, what I'm trying to tell you here is you have to be careful what you're trying to achieve, right? And accordingly you will have to pursue. In our context, this is very much possible, and it will work. Okay, it will work. Let's just run this until unless it throws a compile time error. So we are saying C3 here, right? But what do we want to do with C3 here? Console.log C3. It will print the entire object. Okay.
Here
Okay.
also it is complaining that it is
It
used.
will complain, right? It will complain because how it will know that the event would be fired at line number
Okay, okay.
217, right? It would not know. But at the runtime, it will know,
Mm-hmm.
right? At runtime, C3 will attain a value because this code, after this line, right? What happens? As this gets triggered, this is the one which will get triggered, right?
Yes.
So C3 will have a value after this. And if you run this, right, C3 will show you as an object. Okay. So again, I think you got the point, right? I wanted to
Yes.
explain you something else. Let's focus on that part first. Otherwise, we'll get distorted. Just a second. So okay, what I'm saying here is, if you see, right, the context which we got, right, we created the event on that context, right, on that context. So let's go back to the board. If you see here, right, the event was registered on this context, right? Event or listener was registered on this event, right? And you close this context, right? You said context got closed, so this got closed there now, right? It does not exist. So this event also does not exist now. Okay. Now after this, right? After this line, when it moves ahead, right, and it goes there and creates a new context, it is creating C2, right, as a new context, a new session. And this session over here, right, does not have any listeners attached to it. Getting it? So if I close C2.close, right, if I do this, will you see the same code getting executed again? That's my question. If I do this and I say C2 dot new page, let's say let P3 equals to this, await, and I do P3 dot go to https youtube youtube.com, await, And what we'll do is we'll now say c2.close. Now tell me, will that earlier event get triggered again? This one. The the event is again happening, right? There's a context which will get closed. But will this event be fired? Will this will get fired or not? The listener.
This one was for the first context.
Right, right. This is for the first context, right? This is not for all the context.
Yeah.
Right, this is for the one. If you would have done something right on this context, right, it would have been fired again. But now this is a separate context, right, on which you have not registered any event or listener, right? So it will not see that code getting printed again. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's run this and check whether this is what is happening or not. And I will print some more lines. Execution is started. uh, New context. Execution started again. Let's say execution ended again. Hopefully this is what it should be. Hmm. So it started the execution, it will close it, and it is again starting a new context for us, and this will get closed, right? See here. Let us see the observation. See, execution started, right, for the context one. As soon as you closed it, right, this event got fired, right? That listener triggered the action, and this was the action being taken, and then it printed action execution ended, right? Now that context itself got closed, so the event, so the listener with it also got away, right? Now what we're doing is you're creating a new context, and on that context, right, there was no event registered, right? So what happened is it is normally doing the execution. Is it clear, right? I hope this is clear, right?
Yes, it is.
Right? If you were doing things at the browser level, right? But again, that's a different case altogether. Okay, leave it, right? I hope this is understandable. This you understood this part. Okay. But the key takeaway from this is when you when you apply a event, right, on the context, right, you have to be careful that you are applying it on a specific context, right? So it will remain valid for this context only. If you start creating more context, right, they will not be available for these contexts, right, for the other context. You will have to go and create them for them specifically again and again. Okay, that is what my whole point is. Okay, moving ahead. So close, right, we understood. And when does this close event get triggered? That is the most important part. It gets triggered if you close the context, or if you even close the browser. Because if you close the browser, it also means you're closing the context. Correct? Right?
Yes.
So if you close this browser itself, right, so it will close all the sections of it and also itself, right? So that is what it is, right? So this is I mean, if you close the browser, it will automatically trigger close event on the browser context also, right? That's why it will also get triggered. Okay. What are these three? So close we understand, right? So close works at the browser close. If you close the browser or you close the browser context. Mind you, okay, it is not at the page level. I don't think if you do a page or close, it will work, but we can check. I don't think it will be like this. Let's try actually. I'm not sure. Let's see. So instead of saying context or close, I will say p1 dot. Do we have close method? Yes, we have a close method here. If I do this right now, if you see right, what is happening here? You have a browser context like this, right? And you have a page, this one, right, which is represented by p1. You said p1 dot close. So this will close this, right? And in a way, on a UI, you will also see the browser getting closed. But does it mean the context dot close? Let's see. So what I will do here is I will go here and let me comment all this. I don't need to create a new browser context. I want to view, I want to see, right, I can access or not. I will do what? I will say context. Let me just copy paste this code again. P2, and it will be playwright.com. Okay. So now let's see what happens, right? If you see in this entire thing over here, right, I am not, if you see, right, I am not closing the context. This will get fired. Then I'm opening a page. I am hitting the URL on it, and I'm closing the page. I'm not closing the context. But on the UI, the browser gets closed, right? So we'll see whether it has an impact or not. I feel it should not have. Let's see. So I do not think that this will get printed after this line. So what will be the sequence of code? This will get printed, then this will get printed, okay, and then it will go and create a new page and open this page, right, or udemy.com. And now once it is reaching to the end, right, over here, right, as it reaches to the end, here Playwright will try to close your context in browser, and at that point of time this piece of code will trigger. Okay, this piece of code should get triggered because you're closing the browser, so the context will also get closed. Let's see this. Execution started, will close, it opened a new browser. I would not say a new browser, a new page on the same context, okay, the same session. So you can see Udemy getting opened up, and then it should get closed once it loads, right? You can see, right? Yeah, you can see here. What happened was, oh, I did not print it, execution started and ended again, right? But you can see the sequence. Execution started, on the page close, it did not trigger this event, right? Because you're closing a page, not the context, right? So it printed this execution ended, and then it did what? It did a new page, did all this, right? And afterwards, as the test case was ending, Playwright has the responsibility of cleaning up, so it closed the browser, and as part of that closing of the browser and the context is getting closed, and as soon as the context is getting closed, the event got fired. It printed this line. I hope this is also clear, right? The sequencing of it. Yeah, Anand.
Akhil, I might be sounding a little curious. What would happen if we write the line number 220 inside the on close event?
Let's run this.
Because
No. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. See, in the current code, right? In the current code, the way we have written, if you say that if I print this over there, right? If I write it over here, let's say, in the current piece of code, if I write it like this, right?
Yeah.
What will happen? Now try to understand what is happening. What is triggering this event currently in our piece of code?
The close method.
Close of the browser, right?
Yes.
Close of the browser. So since the browser itself getting closed, how will you get access to context? You can't get the access to context then, right? You're closing the browser itself, the parent of everything, right? So it
Okay.
also means the
It's
context also
on
goes. So what
top
will
of
happen here is,
yeah.
it will throw an error here that context could not be found,
Okay.
right? But if you were doing by yourself, let's say here, right? Where is that? You're saying P1 not close, right? So if I do context dot close, right? If I do this part, context dot close, what you can do here is you can do this part here. If you're interested, you can say browser dot new context and the method, and you will assign it to, let's say, C3 here, right? And what will happen is this, it will be C3 dot new page, and you will see this piece of code. Okay,
Got it.
and then you can run it. Let's try if this does not create an issue for us. Let's try. So this will get closed. So now what will be our sequence of code? It should run this piece of line, then it will go and hit the page and hit the URL of it, then your trying to close the context, this will trigger this piece of code here. It will try to create a new context, and you will see a new page getting opened up and Udemy site getting loaded. After this, it should print this line, right? And then move ahead and run this execution ended. Correct? It should run this part. And then what after this? Yeah, Kiran, please.
Uh, I have a question. Can we can we able to close the context without closing the page?
Yeah, you can just directly say context dot close. It will close all the pages of the context and then the context itself.
Okay.
Think of it like a parent-child relationship, right? Pages are the childs of the context. If you close the context, all the pages will get closed because you are killing a session, right? That is what you're doing
Mhm.
when you say context dot close. If you have multiple sessions, right, and the parent of these sessions are what? The browser. If you close the browser, it will close all the sessions and all the pages within it.
Okay.
Getting it?
Yes.
Anand, do you also have a doubt? Yeah, please.
One quick question, because here we are just opening one tab, one page, hence context.close is also basically closing the browser. Had there been like 2 or 3 pages, then
All the pages closed of that context.
all the pages would have closed out the context.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
See, always remember context means a session, right? And in a session, you can create multiple pages. If you're closing the browser, right? See, it is something like this. You're doing something like this. You have two tabs and you're closing on this. Getting it? So what this will do? It will close all the pages within which are existing on this page, on this session, right? Or if you want to close up a specific page, you will go and click on this, right? So these are pages. This is the entire context, right? This entire thing.
on
If you
closing one specific page doesn't closes the context if there are multiple pages.
Yes, yes, right. And even if you have only one page, right, within the context, and you close the page, the context is not killed. It is sitting silently in the background.
Context is still there, yes.
Yes, it is still there, right? It will only get closed if you say a close on the context or if you close the browser itself.
Got it, there was my confusion. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's see this, right? What will happen? So again, I am repeating. I am what I suspect is it should print this, then it should go and hit the URL, and then we are saying context.close. So it will close the browser, it will close the context, and then what will happen here is the browser will get closed. But here, this piece of code will get starting executing, and here they're creating a new context. And this will get a new page, go there, hit Udemy, and then print this line, and then come here and print this. Okay, let's see. Okay, one more thing. After this, okay, let's run this. I'll ask that question afterwards. You can see, right, execution started was shown. Spot test got closed. You can see, okay, it failed. What happened here? C3. Okay, what is happening here? Failed worker ran. Was not a part of end test. See above for results. Await. New context. Create a new browser context. It wants cookies and capture with this. Okay. Failed worker ran one test. What is the problem here? Or does it say it is not showing a proper error here also? At say line number 206. 206 is this line. We are saying browser.new context. So it should create a new context for us. Let me do one thing. Let us create this browser context here only. C3 browser context. And what we're doing is C3 equals to await browser context. C3.new page. We are not using C3 page, C3 anywhere else, right? Okay. The other reason could be like these events might not allow you to create a new context within them, but again, we will have to see that whether that is a problem. But let's try one more time. Yeah, Anand.
Could there be a reason that because we are calling context.close and it is just one page, one context, hence it is also killing the browser uh, as well,
I
and when we are again
no,
refreshing the browser?
no, it is not closing the browser because you saw previously, right, that we were able to create a new context in the after that operation, right, in the normal code, not in the event part, right? You
Yes.
were able to create the context, so the browser is not getting closed. The browser is still there. Okay. It still says browser context. Okay, it's saying it should be what? Okay, let us ask this thing to the ChatGPT. Uh, I feel that the problem is that event will not allow us to write this. Okay. Uh, uh, Explain me the error in this code. Let's say. Okay. The code snippet provides a key issue related to asynchronous behavior and potential improper use of browser context object. Here's a detailed explanation of this. Event handler, you're trying to get a new browser context and new page after the context property is closed. However, this might cause unsuccessful behavior due to the response already closed, but that context was closed, not the browser. Creating a new browser context after the previous one is closed might lead to resource management issues if the browser shutting down or the application is designed to handle multiple contexts dynamically. This code, okay. Missing error handling. Okay. Recommended fix. Ensure the browser instance remains valid when the close event is triggered. And proper error handling to manage this. Okay. Consider whether it's necessary to give a new context upon closure or if logic should be implemented. Okay. Uh, okay. It's connected.
ChatGPT raising concerns with our intentions.
Right, right. That is what it is trying to say. But let's try its way of try catch block. And what I will do is I will check this part. If the browser is connected right, then I will trigger this. Otherwise, not. I will say maybe the browser itself is not available here, but browser should be available. We are not injecting it, right? No, we are not injecting it. It should be available. If browser is connected, then I would ask them to do all this. Okay. Let's also print this. Console.log browser is still connected. Okay. And let's run this piece of code. Okay. No. Okay. So let's leave it. Let's not deal with this part. Okay. Because if you have the so here it has a problem, right? It just keep on saying that failed worker ran one test. I will think of the issue, right? What might be causing this issue, but logically it should have worked. I've not tried this earlier, but let's see. I'll redo this at my end and we'll see. We'll see whether there is something to explain here or not. Okay, but as of now, seems like the you can't create a new context when you're closing it. At least in this piece of code. This is what it is saying. Okay, but I hope we are understanding the original idea, which is how that event triggering is happening and how that event once triggered, the listener is responding and taking some action. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have done only one event till now. Let's very quickly go to other events. Let me create a new tab. Okay, so let's go to the page one. Okay, on page. Okay, so we have on page, right? So this is another event which you can which you can listen to, right? You will say context dot on page, right? Now what happens here, right? What can you do in this on page, and then you can write your piece of code, right? And the logic will remain same, right? Whatever you write here will get executed when that event happens, right? So the core part here is to understand what is that event, right? When we say page, what do we really mean? What are we trying to say here? We are saying that if you have a browser, right? So you already had a browser and you already had a context from it, right? There was a context on it. Now it is saying that whenever whenever a new page opens up in this context, right? This event will be fired. So if you create a new page on this, let's say I will do context dot new page, right? As soon as you do this, right, this piece of code will trigger. Okay, so this piece of code, this event, right, only takes care of opening of a new page. Okay, so maybe you could be doing this, or let's say there is a button on your page, right? There is a link on your button. Let's say there is a button here, right? Button. If you click on it, it does what? It opens a new page for you, right? Some application has that behavior, right? If you click on it, it opens a new page for you in a separate tab. This, or let's say in a separate window, right? So what is happening there is a new page is getting triggered. So in all those cases, right, this piece of event could be very helpful. You wanted to, let's say, whenever that event happens, right, you would like to record something on your screen, right? You can make use of this event, right? This listener part over here. Understanding? I hope this is also clear, right? So always execute on creation of new page, whether you do it or whether it gets triggered through the application by clicking on some link or button which triggers a new page for you on the browser. Okay, creation of new page. If you read about it, this is what it says. This event is emitted when a new page is created in the browser context, right? The page may still be loading. The event will also fire for pop-up pages, right? Pop-up pages. Okay, so let's try this. We'll go here, right? Let me just skip this test case. Skip. Let's form a new test case. Test case 5. Async. We need context. Okay, and here what we'll show is we'll say context. Okay. Any reasoning why I'm not using await here? Anyone knows of a reason
Because
of
it's
it?
a synchronous call when the event is fired, right? So like it is going to be in the sequence only, so it doesn't need to behave like an in asynchronous form. Maybe not 100% over there, but I think
Okay.
I think because it doesn't return any promise.
It does not return any promise, which is also fine, right? But you understand that it has a piece of code within it, right, to be triggered, right? Which needs to be triggered afterwards, right? Which needs to be triggered afterwards. So what is happening here is, right, I do not want this to complete, right? See, first of all, the reasoning which Kiran said, right, that using an await on this is not correct, since because on itself, right, returns you browser context. It does not returns you promise. First of all, that is one thing which is correct, right? So you will not use it. So this is the right way to do it. But what I'm trying to ask you is the internal part. Try to understand what is happening here is when you do this, right? Okay, let me write the code first. So here, right, I will say console.log new page created. New page created. Okay, let's say I'm printing this time. Now, what I'm trying to tell you here is, okay, let me also form a new page. Context dot new page. Let p1 equals to await. Okay, why did I use await here? Because new page returns your promise, right? So await is using you. Now, okay, I did this. Now I'm creating a new page again, P2, right? On the same context, right? So tell me what will happen here. If I run this, what will happen is, see, okay, let's understand the sequence. If you see this, right, this is a synchronous code because there is no await, right? There is no await. This will get triggered, right? And right, what will happen here is there is this callback function. There is a callback function waiting to be triggered. Who will trigger this? Are you triggering this? No, right? So this is something like which gets registered in the background somewhere, right? All right. So there is a asynchronous nature to it. Correct. There's asynchronous nature to it. Now, because this is not getting executed promptly, it will get executed on certain events when they happen. So it is getting registered somewhere in the background. Now, what will happen here is, if you go by the sequence, right, this line was done and it went here, right? It went here, and now you are running this piece of code. You're saying context.new page. Now, as soon as the page gets triggered, right, that event got fired. As the event got fired, this callback function, right, was triggered internally by this context. I mean, right, this context method over here, the own method. Okay, so again, the reason for you are not placing await here is very simple. As Kiran said, you're not using, because this is not delivering you the promise, right? But the other point which I want you to realize here is that it still has this asynchronous nature to it, right? But this is getting taken care right internally by this method, right? Because it is taking care to run this whenever that operation happens. I'm explaining you all this because after this, right, we are going to discuss about the next method, which is WaitForEvent, which behaves very differently. Okay, maybe there it will clear the confusion, or it will be able to explain the point which I'm trying to make. Okay, so let's wait. Okay, let's wait. So here, now tell me what will happen here. If I run this piece of code, what will happen?
As soon as the new page method is called, the context.on event will get fired, and this callback method will get triggered, and it will print the new page created console message,
Okay,
and then
and
again the transfer will come to the P2 line 260. Again, the new page method will call this context.on,
then
creating a new page, and the log message will get printed.
right. So this will be getting printed twice, right? So the
Yes.
event is getting triggered twice,
Yes.
and in both the cases, this will print this, right? Let's
Yeah.
try. I'll skip the testing, right? Yeah, okay. Mm. See, new page tree, right? It printed twice. So I hope, right, this is clear when this is getting triggered, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. One more question on this. If I would have used page here, right? Page here, the something which gets injected, right? Tell me, if I go, if I do this, right, what will happen now? If I do this and if I run the code, will it have any impact on this?
No, we are not using it, so I don't think any impact will be there.
Let's comment this out. If I run this piece of code, will it have any impact?
No.
Let's see. And
Okay,
I
you
would,
are injecting. So
and also do, let's do one thing. I will say page dot pause. Okay,
okay.
I'm doing this so that you can see the screen being there, right? Let's run this piece of code. Let's see what happens. So you can see the browser, there's a page opened up and I have paused this, right? Let us see. So you can see the line is on this line, right? The debugger is on this right now. Just stop there. Do you see anything getting printed?
No.
But why? You saw a new page opened up right on that context. Why that did not got triggered? Why this event did not got triggered? What is happening is correct, right? But I want the reason for
The
it.
event is listening to the context, and we are not using the context here.
No. the page is opened on the same context.
Okay.
By default, Playwright created one browser. Out of that browser, it created one context from it, right? Right? When you set this context here, right? It created that context for you, right? The context exists. The session is created, right? And then what you're doing is you're also asking for a page. So what Playwright would have done is Playwright would have created a page on that context, a tab, which is this one, which is this tab, right? So this tab is opened on the same context. Okay, but why this is not getting printed here? The reason is, does anyone know? Okay, let me tell you, right? The reason here is because all that thing, right? Opening of the page in this particular case, right? Happened before even going to this line. Once this test case was started, right? What happened was Playwright is doing a lot of things in the background, right? So and we asked Playwright to prepare a context for us and a page within that context. So all of that thing is like a pre-step before even going to run this line, right? This listener is getting registered at line number 254, right? When this page was created by Playwright, Playwright does not know, right, that there is a listener to be registered. Getting it? So this listener, right, did not got registered at the point of creation of the page by the Playwright, and that's why this is not getting triggered. Getting it?
Yes.
Right? Now, but since you registered this, right, and if you do something on the page, right, if you create a new page by yourself over here, right, this will get triggered every time on that context. Okay, I hope, right, this is clear.
Yes.
Let me just move ahead and run this. Okay, you can see, right, it did not printed anything. You need to know the reason for it, right? Tomorrow you might think, okay, I'll be injecting page and I'll be creating a context on it and it should do something on it. No, it will not do. It will not do it because the page was created earlier by the Playwright itself. It's not you. It is not getting created after you registered this, right? This was already created. That's why. Again, for the people who did not understood, let me tell you this, right? See, what is happening is, let's understand the sequence. When you wrote this piece of code and you said, okay, I need a context and the page, and then you in the right, and here you're saying context.on, and you're saying page here, right? And you're writing a code, let's say console.log hello. What will happen here is, let's understand the sequence of flow, right? First of all, Playwright will think, or will see, okay, I need to run a test case. Okay, run a test case. This is the first task it will do. Then it will see, okay, what are you injecting within it? It will see, okay, you need a context and a page, right? So it will create a browser first of all. From that browser, it will create a context, and on that context, it will create a page, right? All of this thing has already happened, right, before even starting the execution of the test case, which is starting in this line, right? So this is already done. Now, as soon as it reaches to this line, it says, okay, there's an event, there's a listener which I have to register, which is this. It registered this, right? But this registration of this listener, right, will not have impact on the events which have already triggered. They are meant to run for the future events, right? Not for the previous events. This event got triggered earlier, right, in the past, right, before triggering this line. So that's why this piece of code did not execute in this case. I hope this is making sense and you're able to understand. Yeah, Anand.
Akhil, can you again revisit from the point when the page context and page got initiated, and then when the
See here, right? Just tell me if you look at this piece of line, right? What is happening here in this piece of line?
yeah, it says that
This
it needs
piece of
a
line, yeah.
context and a page.
So what will Playwright will do?
The Playwright will go and trigger a browser, create a
Browser,
session,
create a context, and then create a page on it, right? A
create a
blank page on it,
yes, a
right?
blank
So
page.
this is already done before going to this line. Let's say this is line number 205, right? So you are on 204. So line number 204 was triggered, right? As part of that part, all these things have happened, right? So the page is already created. Page is already created, right? Now the test is starting. At line number 205, you're saying to register an event, right? Okay, great. But you are registering an event, right? So what will happen is, from now on, if you open a new page, this will be fired, right? For this page, there was no event being registered. Okay,
Okay.
right? For this page, there was no event registered. This registration of the event happened at this line.
Yeah.
If you would have done something before this line, which is not possible, right? Then there could have been an event fired, but there is no way to do that. If
Right.
you want to create a new page for yourself and do some event thing over it, right? This is how you do it. But this will not happen for this page, the one which you got from Playwright. Okay, I hope this is clear now.
Now it's
Yeah, Kiran, please.
So my understanding is, while we using the page fixture, we don't need to. It's like we don't need to manage the page and the context. That's why it is automatically getting a new isolated page and the context. And here, what we're doing is we are not like creating any context, so it is already predefined by the page context. So uh, uh, we are not getting that message inside the context event.
When this event will be fired, tell me that part first. When the page will be created,
Right,
right? So the page is already created, right?
right. That is an independent page.
Right, independent, not an independent page. This is like it is happening in the same session, right? If you
Yeah,
if now if you do context.new page, where will it open a new page? Here only, right? Go and
right.
open a new page. But this time when you create this page, right, there is an event which it has to listen to, right?
Mhm.
So this was applicable for this page but not for this, because when this page was opening up there was no event being registered which you asked Playwright to listen to, right?
Right.
So that's why this never existed. This never got print. Now since you registered this, and if you do a new page on anywhere, right, this will always get triggered,
Mm. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, great, right?
Akhil, I think I'm little confused on the part where blank page is getting opened.
The first one,
The first one, yes. And then when we do a context.new page, then another tab will open.
right? This will open a new web tab. Page means tab, right?
Tab, yeah.
Right. So
But
it opens a new tab.
yeah, but until now, whenever we have whenever we have used the used the page fixture until now, we have, right?
Yeah, we have.
We have,
Yeah.
right? So if you go to the code for a minute. So yeah, so let's say in test case number 5 or here,
Let's say here,
and
we have used fixtures in these tests, right? If you see page, right?
yeah. So let's say any of the test case. So here when we say, let's say test case number 3, line 52. Here when we are okay, so we wrote the test description, and in the I think we included page and browser and context fixture, and then in the next piece of code we are doing browser.new context. So now, as per the
Yeah.
current understanding, it will it behave like it will open a blank tab, and then a new page to go to youtube.com, or it will do on the same blank page.
See, first of all, just use two terminologies. One is a session, and second is a tab. Okay.
And tab,
So,
okay.
so let's be consistent on the terminology. A
Okay.
session means a new browser instance, right?
Okay.
It's like a incognito mode. Okay.
Mhm.
So whenever you say a new context, it will open a new incognito mode. Let's understand this way. Okay. And
Okay.
in that incognito mode, you can have multiple tabs, right?
Okay.
What Playwright does for you by default, if you want it, what Playwright will do is it will first of all you will ask him, okay, open a Chrome browser. So browser, it go to know, okay, I need to work on browser on Chrome thing. When you say give me a context, when you set this context here, right, Playwright will do what? It will create a new incognito mode in that browser, which is Chrome, right? If and when you say page here, right, it will also open a new tab on it, which is blank. Now at this line, when you set browser or new context, what will happen is it will look at what is my browser Chrome, and you're saying new context, right? You already have already a context, right, which is the incognito mode. And when you set new context here, it will do what? It will open a new session for you, which is again a new incognito mode, and the earlier one is also existing. Getting it? And now if
Okay.
you want, right, you can open multiple pages in this context also.
Okay. And let's say if I would have done on line number 56, context.page. Is it possible? Context.newPage or context.
Yeah, you can correct, right? New context returns you what? It returns you a browser context. So you can do what? Just say here, let c1 equals to this, and then you will do what? c1 dot new page.
No, no. Instead of creating a new context, I want to work with the one which are introduced in the
Yeah,
fixtures.
yeah, yeah. You just use it, right? Just say
Directly,
context.
yeah, directly
Just
utilizing
say
context.
context dot new
Yeah.
page. This is like this is just the browser context, right? Whatever you
Yes.
could do here, right? You could do here also. You can open as many pages as you want in the
This will
context
open.
provided by.
Will this open a new tab beside the blank tab?
Yes, yes, it will.
Okay, that's where is my question. So if I'm using the same fixture context, the one which is described, which
Hmm.
is written in the line 52, then it will open a new tab into the first session that is there
See,
rather than new context. This
let's
one, yeah,
ignore let's ignore this line. Let's ignore this line. Now
yeah.
tell me what will happen here. If I remove all this line here, right? If I just remove all this line, tell me what will happen by just writing this line. What will happen here? If
So
I run this,
here it will create a new browser, like it will
a
give a,
session,
a session,
a
session.
session, right? Because oh,
Yes.
and who's and what object is pointing to the session? Context,
Context, yeah.
right? Okay. Now go ahead.
And as we see, there is a page also, so it will also give us a page,
A new
tab,
tab on that
new
context, right?
tab on the context
Right. And
session.
will it have any URL on it? No.
No, it will not have
It
any
will it will
URL.
have a blank thing, right?
Blank
And if
page.
I take this away, what will happen now?
So there will be no tab, but there will be a session for you.
Now tell me. Now try to think of it. Do you see a browser opened up without any tabs? If you
No.
close if you close the tab, the browser also gets closed. At least
Yes.
on the UI part, right?
Yes.
At least on the UI part. Now what
Yes.
happens here, right? In this context, if you run this piece of code, right, you will not see a browser opened up because there is no tab which you wanted to open up, right? But in the background, the session has been created. If you do a new page, or if you say page here, this will result into creating of a new tab, and that will also make sure that the on the UI the browser gets displayed. Getting it,
Yes. Yes.
right? If you do this now, this piece of code, it will now visually also you will be able to see a browser, and on that browser you will see a tab being opened up, a blank tab.
A blank tab.
And if you wanted to open more tabs, you can use this context.
This
This
context.
will represent that session which where the tab is already open, and you can do new page, new page, new page. You can keep on doing this. It will open as many pages as you want.
Yeah. And then if we are also registering an event, then that event will register only when the new page will happen, not by
Right,
default.
right. For the
Not
page part, right? For the page part here.
for the page part. Okay. Now it is clear. Okay. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay. I
Yes,
think
understood.
I got confused when we were working with new context and then a page, because that's where I got confused that we till now we have already always seen a fresh page coming up with the URL. But here we understood that okay, if we are not using the new context, then it is in the same context. The new tab will open.
See, when we started discussing, right, I told you this is the first thing which you have to understand from the Playwright library: browser, browser context, and the page. These are the most important thing, because if you don't understand this part very clearly, it will have an impact on your understanding of the browser session management. Okay. Again, I am repeating. What happens here is there is a concept called fixtures in Playwright, and that fixture part, right, is for these three things only: browser, context, and page. And they exist so that you do not have to do any handling of the browser sessions, right? If you need a session, just ask for a context. This will give you a session. If you want to open a page within that context, you can just simply say this. If you say this, right, what will happen now? If I just inject page, it will create a browser, the Chrome browser, based on your configuration file. Out of that browser, right, it will create a session, right, for you, and on that session it will create a page and then give it to you, right?
Yes.
This is what it does, right? It is taking a lot of pain from your plates, right? And in the end, it will also clean up all this once the test case finishes. Right, Anand? I hope your doubts are clear,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Now it is completely clear. Yeah.
Yeah, Gundesh, yes, you also have a query, right? Please. Sandesh, do you have a query?
No, Akhil, I'm good.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry. Right. So we were saying context, right? Okay, let's move ahead. So we have seen two different things, right? Over here, new page, and all that. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's go to the third part. Okay, dialogue is something, right? We'll deal afterwards once we start discussing dialog boxes. So we'll take that thing over there. Let's just focus on the console part. Okay. Now, if you see, right, in your browsers, if you, let's say, if you open a page, right, test.in, if I open the inspect on this and go to the console, right? Sometimes you might see some messages being printed here, right? Like the error messages, or let's say some console logs which you wanted to print, right? Let's say this, right? Someone's fired this, right? Console.log, Akhil, right? You see Akhil getting printed, right? Similarly, sometimes you will see some error messages, right? And all that being displayed on the console from the server side. Or maybe there is some issue happening in the JavaScript side on the browser level, right? Right? So they might also be resulting into some console logs, errors, or something, right? So all of that information gets printed on this screen, which is the console part, right? Now, if you see here, right, what will happen is this console tab, right, remains. If you open to this page, or let's say if I open on this page, okay, here they are differentiating, but what happens here is that this console tab, right, this console thing, right, remains. It's like it is for what I should say. This is for the entire session, right? This is for the entire session. Okay. Although here on the UI, you might see it getting differentiated per page level. Okay. But again, coming to the point. The point here is that there is a third thing over here. Let me just put a skip to it. Test case 6, and there's an async method. Async, and we'll take context on it. Okay, and let me just collapse this method. Now on this test case 6, right, what I will do is I'll create a new listener, context on, and this time I'm going to take this console part. Okay. Now if you see the console thing, it returns you again the browser context only. You don't have to do anything. Now whatever you wanted to access here, right, you can do it here. Okay, just one more thing. Not this one. Let's go to the documentation. There is something very specific for it. Okay. I think I missed to tell you one more thing. What you could have also done is console part. Sync message. This should have also taken up the page part. The earliest moment that page is available, for example. Okay. One more thing. In the earlier case, can I access a P variable and access here console log dot. Okay. See, one more thing, right? I wanted to tell you here is till now, right? When we were creating a function here, right? I'll discuss that console part afterwards. Okay. Let me just brief you about one more thing. If you look here, right, on the page part, till now we were creating a method like this, which was not accepting an input. Okay, which was not accepting an input. But what happens here is, I mean, this was serving a purpose, right? But what you can also do is, when this event will trigger, right, what this method can do for you is it can give you the access, right, to the object which is referring to the new page which got created. Okay, so in this case, right, when this line got triggered, new page here, right, this part here, await context.new page. So this will do what? It will create a new page, right? And and currently I was not giving an input. If I do any variable name, p, p1, p2, p3, whatever I give, right, what this p will hold as a value it will be pointing to the object pointing to that new page. Okay, so what happens here is, if you do this way, right, what it'll do is, whenever this page event happens, right, a object, right, would be formed by Playwright, right, and it would be pointing to that new page which has been opened, and the page, right, you can get access to that page through this variable. Okay, which will be injected here. And now if you wanted to access any of those properties within it, right, you can just say p dot, and if you see, right, all these methods over here, right, are for the page level. Okay, you can see here, we have not discussed page in detail, we have not seen all the methods, so I'm not discussing them here, but I want you to realize that you get access to that page entirely, right, if you wanted the access to it, but for that you will have to change, you will have to add that parameter in this function body. Okay, if you are interested. If you're not interested, just leave it like this. Okay, p dot thing. So if you say p dot, let's say, what can I get? Can I get a title of the page? Yes, I can. So this will return me a promise. Okay, so this will return me a promise. What I will do is, I will collect this here, and I will say, since this is, I will say async. Okay, p dot title, and I would like to collect this title here. Okay, what is the title of the blank page? Blank, right?
Yeah.
So let's print it here only. Title, sorry, title. Okay, so let's see this. Let's do. Okay, let's leave it here like this. Control S. Let's skip this part. Let's right. So let's trigger this to see what happens. Okay, it opened 3 tabs. Why? Because I injected page here, this page, and this page. So 3 pages were open. So you can see 3 blank tabs. But my point, but this thing, right, would get triggered only twice. One for this and second for this, right? So if you see here, right, the title of the page is what? About blank. This is the title of the page. Let us see what it we printed. Oh, it did not printed this. It means
It printed twice, right?
it printed twice, but I
The
wanted to
console
print
log.
the title also.
Oh, okay, okay.
So this should have written me a promise of the string. Why it has not printed this? Title did not receive the value. Let me just check. If I do an inspect on this, oh, okay, there is no title. Okay. There is no title.
Can we get that value from the console tab? Like
Which value?
here. Can we write a command to get the title of the browser? Does it supports
Let's try. So for that,
browser?
you will have to create the document object.
Yeah, okay, document.
Document dot. You will have to go to the header, but if you see, right, head does not have the title. I mean, it. You can check the title, but you can see title is blank.
Mm,
It is blank because the header tag is all blank here.
okay.
Title tag resides under the head tag, and that is what get displayed here, right? I was thinking that this about blank would be a tag within this, but it seems it is not there, so this will never get printed. Okay, so I think the current behavior is correct. This is the correct behavior. Right, this is the correct behavior. So what can we do more? I think we can't. But what we can do get access more is, maybe we can get access to get uh, viewport size. Viewport size gives you what? It gives you height and width, which is this part. So it does not need the await part on it. So let's say viewport size, viewport, and I will print this. And let's just close this. Let's run it again very quickly. But this will also be a problem or not. Let's see. Because viewport would be an object. holding with height and width. And let's see, you can see, right? Is able to get those values, right? So, but who is providing that value? You're getting those values through that P thing, right? And what is P representing? That page. Okay, this entire page, right? This is one page, this is other page, right? So if you wanted to work on this page, so first of all, right, when you said new page, this got triggered. So value of P was pointing to this page, and whatever operations you can do on a page, right, you can access, you can do it through that P thing. So there is one method called get view port size, which I used to do things, and I'm printing it over here. Let's say if you wanted to, let me do one more thing. Let's do this thing, right? What I will do is I will do one more thing. I will say I will load one page, right? I will load the page on it. I will say go to, maybe this might give you some more insights about it. Actually, YouTube. Now tell me what will happen. It will, whenever this page will get triggered, right? A new page will be opened. By default, it will navigate to this page. Why? Because you have mentioned this in this event. Is it correct?
Yes.
Right? I hope we all understand this, right?
Yes. Yes.
But you will get access to the page only in the case of page event. Okay, if you use something else, let's say you are doing close, right, you will not get access to the P here, right? Because page will be injected only in case of the page event. Similarly, if you would use console, let's say, right, if you would have used console here, which we are about to discuss next, you will receive something else here. Okay, you will not get access to the page, you will get access to something else, which we'll talk about. Let's trigger this last time, and let's move to our discussion of console very quickly. See, these events are very important, right? This is one of the differentiating factor of Playwright with the other tools. You can see, right, YouTube getting opened up twice for both the tabs which you opened up, but for not for the default one. So this also again reconfirms, right, what we just explained and what I just told you about all this. Okay, let's close this. Okay, so this is one thing. Let's just skip this part. Let's very quickly go to the next part here, right? Console, which is this thing. Now, if you see this, right, I'm trying to create an event on console, and this event means that this event will get fired. Let's go to the documentation. If you see this event emitted when JavaScript within the page calls one of the console APIs. Either it calls, it calls any of the APIs on the console. There are a lot of other methods, right, available on console, like log, directory, error. There are hundreds of other methods, right? Whenever that will get triggered, right, on that page, this event will get triggered. Okay, this event will get triggered, right? Now, if this event got triggered, right, you can do what? Again, you can just leave it like this. You can say console.log event triggered console event triggered, let's say, right, console event triggered. You can say this, right? You can say this, and what will happen here is context dot new page to do all this, right? It will open a new page, but it does not mean that that page will have some console logs being mentioned there, right? No, it will not there. It will only happen if someone would have written those logs, right? So what we can do is, let's do one more thing. What should I do? Okay. I have not explained this, but let me write a method, okay, which we'll discuss later when we discuss about pages. So this is the page, right? So let me collect this. Let p1 equals to this. p1 dot evaluate here. We'll find dot log killgen, and we'll say await p1 dot pause. Okay. Let us see what happens here, right? Let us see what is happening here. But remember, tell me when this will get triggered. If in your browser, right, in the console tab, it has some entries in the text. If something is printed here, right, as soon as that gets printed, right, the event will be fired. Is it clear?
Yes.
Right. Now let's very quickly go back and let's run this part. Okay, we are already here, right? Let us see one thing. Let us go to the inspect. Will it show this? You see, Akhil Jain printed here. Why Akhil Jain not printed here? Because there is a method we have on the page using which we can print thing, right, on the console tab or on the page like this, right? Like Akhil Jain here, right? And you can do more. This is what I am triggering, right? What happens here is, uh, what happens here is when you open a page, right? I'm sure you would have seen, right? If you open YouTube, let me open YouTube here, right? Control enter. Maybe something would be there on the console tab. You see, like these messages, right? Who is printing this? I am not printing them, right? But these are getting coming. These are coming on the console tab, right? These are coming on the console tab. And for every such entry, right, you can collect all of them, right? You can get access to them through this event, console event. Okay, right? Now you might be thinking, okay, you are writing this code which is saying console event triggered. Okay, great, but I am not in need of this thing, right? I want access to this log here, right? I want access to this log. How can I get access to these text here, right? I want to get access to it and let's say print them, right, in my logs here, right? In my logs here, what is happening here, right? You can see console event getting triggered again and again. Why these got triggered 8 times? Why?
Because
Any
we have
reason? Because 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 time here and 1 time here, so that event got triggered 8 times, right? Because every time in the console field here, right, will receive an input, the event will be fired. Okay, right? I hope this is the same understanding you're getting, right?
Yes.
Okay, now the last part, what I wanted to convey is I want access to these logs which I'm seeing here. I want access to these logs. How can I get access to this specific thing? Rather than printing this part, I would have wanted to print this information, right, on my screen. How can I do it? Let's do this part now. Let me close this. It's got finished, right? Similar to the page part, right? In if you were using page as an event, right, you are getting access to the page object, correct?
Yes.
But if you use console, right, you get access to something else. You get access to the console message object. If you use page, right, you can get access to here page object, right? Whenever the page will be new page will be created, it will the object of that page would be injected here, and you can access it through a variable called p, right, or any other variable name. Similarly, if you were using console, right, and if you want access to that console thing, right, the message which you have on the console tab, if you want it, if you do not want it, leave it blank. If you want it, give a variable name to it, any name, right? But what is getting injected into this variable? There is an object with the name as console message. This is a class in Playwright, okay, maintained by Playwright, which has certain methods within it, right? And this console message as an object represents one such instance, right, of the things on the browser. So you were seeing on the console tab, you were seeing this, right? There were multiple entries. This was the message 1, message 2, message 3, right? Like this. So what happens here is whenever that event was fired, right, this message thing, right, was given to this console message, right, as an object. Let me just show you. There is a console message. Okay, there is a object here called console message which has methods within it, right? These methods. args, location, page, text, type. Okay. For us, let us just focus on these two. I'll tell you, right? Okay. Let's cover this console message part. I'll take 10-15 minutes more to wind up. I want to close this browser context today. Come on, man. I hope there is no lag, right? When I'm saying things.
No lag.
Okay. Okay. So what we have is we have a class or an object, right? Called console logs, console message. This is the class here, right? This is a class created by Playwright, right? And it has certain methods within it. All the methods are listed here. You can see args, location, page, text type. For our case, right, I would say you should be interested in these three as of now: page, text, and type. And for today, as of now, you should be interested in text and type only. Okay, text and type. So text and type. These are the methods available on this object, right? What happens is when you say context dot on and you say console, right? So whenever a event on the console will trigger, you would want to get access to that stuff, right, which is available on the console, right? That particular event, right? So what will happen here is, what is that event? It will print some line on the console, right? That is what it does, right? Whether it's an error thing, whether it's a message, whether it's something else, whatever it is, right? It will be there, and you want access to that thing, right? What you can do is you can give a variable called CM or any other name, right? What will Playwright will do is Playwright will inject will what at once this event happens, right? Playwright does what? If it sees that you're injecting something to it, Playwright will do what? Playwright will create the instance of this console message object, okay? This part, which will be representing the information which is there on the console tab, right? And then it would inject this object over here. Now you want access to the message over there, right? What you should do is first of all put a thing here, go to await in the code here, right, and do cm.text. This will do what? It will print the text which you see over there on the screen in your logs, right? Let us see this. So I am printing this cm, let's say, right? Async. What? Let's see what the cm here, right? Cm. Okay. Let maybe here it will be getting you see, you're getting access to this. So this is the console message object being injected by the Playwright for you in this message, in this method. So I am interested in seeing the text of it, right? And I would like to print on my console log. And cm.text is what? It's a string value, right? So this should be okay. So in a way, I do not need async here. Do I need async or not? Okay, let's see whether this gets fired. So I will not print this. Rather, I would like to print all this other things, right? So let us run this again, right? Last time we were seeing console event trigger, right? And I would also like to print the type of it. Let's say type. Okay, so it could be any of these types: log, debug, info, error, all this, right? So let's see. Or in a way, right, I would like to print it in the same line so that it makes sense. Okay, let's trigger this. Okay. It opens the browser. It is on the pause part, right? Let us see. If you see, right, it printed Akhiljan. It is telling what kind of console type it was. It was of log type because I have injected log here, right? Now notice what I will do. I will try to hit the YouTube URL, right? And you saw that it was printing some messages on the console by itself, right? Let's go and inspect this. go to console, you will see these messages getting printed, right? All these messages. Let's see. You see, all of them are getting printed in your logs here, right? By doing this, and they are telling you this is an error message. This is an info message. This is an error message. This is an error message. This is a warning. Is it clear what I'm trying to display here?
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm also trying to focus here is that in Playwright, right, just for this console, right, they have created a separate class, right, which is with the name as console message, and there are certain methods within it which you can use to access all this stuff. Okay. Now someone could ask you, if you want access to this console messages, right, being printed in the browser, how can you access it? The answer is this: you will create an event, and then there's a console message thing, right, within Playwright, using which you can get access to the text and the type, and it will work out. Okay. Okay, let's stop this, and let's jump to the last thing for us for today, which is wait for event. I hope, right, we understood close, console, and the page part, right? All the events for the browser context. Dialog thing we'll discuss afterwards, right? And console message, right? You can see console message objects are dispatched by page via this console event, right? Whenever that event will happen, that event will be converted into an object and assigned to this message here. I mean, this object here, console message. For each console message logged in the page, there will be corresponding event in the Playwright context. Okay, and you can access them through this method. The text of the console message type one of the following values. It could be any of this, right? We generally, for our understanding or for our purpose, right, we always do console.log. But there are other methods which are available on console. Console.warning, console.error, console.info, console.debug, right? So depending on what server, what code has been written in the server or at the front end side, and what is getting triggered and what gets displayed on the console, accordingly the type would be there, and it has a method to display the type also. Okay, I hope we are good with this. We do not need to worry about location and all. So, but page part, if you see, right, the page that produces this console message, as I said, right, console is like a single place, right, where all the consoles would be printed for Playwright at least. If you have multiple pages opened up, right, and let's say you are interested in getting the logs of a particular page, you can filter it out through this page thing. Okay, this page part, right, will give you access to the page object which opened that logs here, right? What I'm saying, see here, this is the same thing, right? I have two pages opened up, right? Let me open the page also. P1 dot go to https not this podcast.in. Okay, and await here. Now what I will do here is I'm saying cm dot page. If you see, this will give me what? This will give me access to the page that produces this console message. Right? It will give me access to this. Now, what happened here is you can do what you can. This is give you the access to the page. So let me collect the page. Let P1 or let's say P2 equals to this. And what I will do is I will say P2 dot on the page, right? You can get a title, right? Title. On the page you can get the title, but this is okay. You will get the title here, right? P2 dot title, and I will check. I will not check. Okay, let's see. If P2 dot title dot contains, we have contains, right? I believe. No. What is the thing which we check? Includes. Includes. P2 dot title includes. Let's say pod test. Now what is happening here? Object is possibly undefined, which is okay. Includes project. includes project, then I would like to print this, otherwise not. Right? Let's say this is what I'm saying, but this is saying that this is possibly undefined. Okay. Okay. Let's run this. Let's see what it will say. That let us see what it's a promise of string. Mm, just a second. Let me just collect it and place it somewhere. Otherwise, let title equals to await p2.title, and then I will say title dot include, right? It will keep on saying this. No worries. Not this. And let's run this part. You see, right? It did not. It hasn't thrown the error on the screen for that, right? Because at the compile time, right? At the compile time, uh, it did not knew that you will be opening a page, right? But at the runtime, the page was opened and assigned to that object. Okay. Now, if you see this, right? You see this part, right? cm.page, right? It knew that there was a page, right? So it assigned that page to p2, and on that p2, right, it would have a page, and on from it would have got the title. What is the title? Pod test learning platform. Oh, I should have printed the title also. No worries. Okay. I said pod test. Oh, it has to be. It is case sensitive, so that's why I did not print it. Just a second. Includes how it is pod test. Pod test. We have a method includes search string. What I should do here is just a second. Let me just check. It is T also capital, right? T is also capital. What test? And let us print the title also here. I will print the title. Okay. Okay, come on, man. Let's run this. There's a method for case insensitive, right? What is that? I'm forgetting. On a string, I will have to check. It will hit there. It will hit the side. You see this, right? It printed this log, right? Why? Because I wanted to check I'm checking, right? I'm checking the page, right, on which that console message came from, right? Now see this. If I go back and this time hit the YouTube URL, right? You will see it will not print the logs. Why? Let's see. Do you see any logs being printed?
Title doesn't contains YouTube.
Right? Title does not, because we have written this logic to print only if the page on which that event has occurred, right? Right? We are checking on the page and we are checking the title on the page. If it is spot test, only print those logs. If it is YouTube, right, it will not match this condition and this code will never trigger. Although the event was fired, right, but because of this logic, it is not printing those logs. Getting it?
Yes.
Right, Kiran. I hope you're also getting this.
Yes, I'm getting.
Okay. Right. So I hope you understood all three parts. So on the console message as an object, you get access to three things which are very important for us. One is the text, the message of the text information, the type of the message, which is could be error, dialogue, and all that. And the third, you can also get the access to the page which generated that log, right? And you can do some filtering on it if you are interested in, right? Or maybe do something else with it, because you get access to the entire page. If you, let's say, you wanted to change the URL itself, right? Everything is possible here because you have the access to the entire page itself. You can say go to and then hit the URL, https, let's say udemy.com, right? It will work this way. I hope I'm clear on this, right? You got access to the page itself, right? So you can do anything on it. Getting a title was one thing. You can write all your automation code here if you wanted to, because you have the access to the page itself, right, Anand?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's move ahead. So we are done with all this. The last part. Uh, there is one method, right? Okay, let me just close this thing. There is, yeah, Kiran, please.
So the use case I remember it like whenever a test fails, we can gather all the console errors and then we can have it and we can pass it to the developers. So,
Absolutely great, right? And you can print that information in your reports, right?
right.
You can have that information from the browser into the reports.
Yeah.
It is also possible in WebDriver.io. It is also possible in Selenium, right? But there are different ways to do it. Here, in this case of Playwright, right, it is achieved through this event mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
That is the interesting part, right? And what is interesting is that they have crafted their objects very well defined. If you see console message, right, it gives you the access to the text also, the type also, and it is also giving you the access to the page which generated this message,
Yes.
right? So you're looking at a lot of things over there. Okay. What next? The last part. For today, there is a method here, right? So again, console message is also done, right? So all three methods, these two, again, this is not important for us, so we are not covering the browser context, right? Let's go back to browser context. There's only one method pending, which is wait for event. Okay, wait for event. Now, there is a understanding which we need to have. See, if you would see, right, we have already seen browser.on, right? Browser.on, let's say this page part, right? And if I write this code, right, if I write this code and I say console.log print new page created, new page created, right? This is one thing. So we have seen this event, right? This is one way. What I'm telling you now is what you can do is you can say, sorry, not browser context, right? Context.on. What you can also do is context.wait for event. Now you might, as the name says, wait for event, right? Wait for event. Doesn't it rings a bell that it is similar to this part? Here also you were waiting for this event to trigger, right? And as soon as that event triggers, you will be running this code. Same stuff happens here also, right? Wait for event. You have to define a page. You have to define the event which you are waiting for. Let's say I'm waiting for the page event. The same events. Okay. There is no such different types of events. The same events which were available here, right, are all available here also. And then there is a piece of code which you can trigger, right? You can trigger. So what is the difference between the two? Why would you do this and not this? Or why would you choose this and not this? Let me first show this thing over to you. If you go to wait for event, right? Wait for events to fire and passes its value to the predicate function. Returns when the predicate returns the value. Okay. Okay. Enough of this. Let me show you. It will not make any sense. Let me create a new test case. So test case 7. Async. Context. Not here. Here and this, right? Now what I'm saying here is you already have used this context dot on, and you are writing, let's say, page, and you are saying console.log new page created, right? And what was happening was if I do this part and I say context dot new page, if you do this, I'll say await, and let me grab this new p1 equal to this, and I say p1 dot go to https what test.n, and let's just hit these columns here, and I'll say await. And if I copy this again, right, and run this, P2 and P2 again, and this would be naming.com, right? If I do this part, we understand this. What will happen is this event gets registered, and whenever this event will happen, right? It is happening here first of all. It will get triggered, and it will be fired, right? Similarly here also, right? Now I'm saying what I'm saying is instead of doing this, right? Let me comment this out. There's one more method which you have, which is this context dot wait for event. If you look at wait for event, expected one or two arguments, okay, one or two arguments, but it got 0, and it will return you. Okay, there are a lot of overloaded versions, I believe, only works with Chromium browsers persistent context. Okay, so this works only for Chromium browsers, not for the other browsers. Great. Not this is the background one, not the background one. I need the page one, right? Page one. So, okay, you can see, right? The list of the events are same, right? As they were available in the context.on, right? The same thing. What we are interested in, let's say page. If you look at page, let's see what does it give. It will return your page. Okay, if you see console, what does it return? It returns you a console message, right? Console message. So depending on what you are accessing, accordingly it will return you something else back, right, from there. So this was okay. One more thing. If you look at this part, right, console.on, context.on, here, right, it always returned you browser context, right? It is what does it do? What it does internally is depending on the events you fire, right? Here you have a possibility where you can define the action, okay, where you can define the action to be taken. In wait for event, right, you cannot define the function, you cannot define the action first of all, right? So when I was saying this, right, in case of wait for event, you can't do this, sorry, right? You can just mention this part, wait for event, okay. One is this part, so you will say wait for event. Let's say I want to wait for the page event, right? But if you understand the structure of the method, you will see that wait for event, when you say event as page, it returns your promise of page. So one difference is here only, right? In case of context.on, it is always returning you browser context, right? It does not give you back the based on the event, right? It gives you the context only. The second difference is you can define the action which you want to take inside context.on only, right? Like this. You cannot do the same thing over here. Okay, you cannot do this over here. But if you want the access to it, what you will do is wait for event promise, right? So what I will say is I will say let p, okay, let's say p equals to this, okay, p equals to this. Now this line of code, let me again comment this out. This line of code over here, right, is doing what I told you. In the event mechanism, there are 3 steps involved. One is registering a listener, okay, registering a listener. This is that part. It is registering a listener here. If you look here, right, this is registering a listener, step 1, registering a listener, right? It is just registering a listener. This is where the event is happening, right? Event fired, right? And the listener is notified. Listener would be notified. Correct? It will be notified. So this is the second step. This is step 2, right? What is the third step? Third step was to take the action, right? Now, if you look at this piece of code in the context part, where was the step 1? This was the step 1. When you say context.on, this was the step 1. Step 1, right? Which is registering a listener. If you look at here, right, this part here, right, is the action part. The action which needs to be performed once the event has fired, right? So this was step 3, action to be taken, right? And in this case, the step 2 was same, which is here, this, right, the event fired. So if you look at the sequencing of it, you are registering a listener. Then when the event was happening, the third step was being triggered, right? Now what I'm saying is there is another way to do it. There is something called wait for event. Here you can define the event which you are waiting for to happen. So you are registering a listener. So this is step one. So ignore this part now, right? I'm again commenting this out. Commenting this out. Okay. So we are waiting for the page event to trigger to happen. Registering a listener. This is event being fired. But as soon as the event got fired, right, where the action will go? Action will not go here in this. Okay. You cannot specify the action. Action has to be afterwards here, right? And what will happen here is you will say p here, right? You said p dot uh, p dot. How will you take the actions? What should I show here? P dot. Let's do this part. Okay, I will say await p go to https. Let's say YouTube here. Okay, youtube.com. Now this is await for p, and go to will also have its own await. Right. Let me just comment all this. Now, you might be thinking, Akhil, I mean, what we are doing here, but let me just try to explain this, right? See, read from this line of code. You are registering an event. You are waiting for the event of the page to occur. Okay, so you are listening. Someone is listening, right? Now, event got fired here. The page opened up, right? So the second step is happening. Now, once the second step is happening, right, you would like to take some action, right? Now, in this case, the difference here is you will get here as an output the access to the page itself, right? Which you are storing in a page p called, right? Called p. Now, if you want to take some action, right, after the event has happened, right, it is your responsibility here, right, to define the action where exactly it needs to be triggered, which is this part. Let me first run this and show you, then we'll discuss further, right? P dot pause await p dot pause. Let's trigger this. I hope I am running only one test case. Yes. Let's fire this. Please see, I am running it through P, not P1, right? I am running it through using P, not P1. Okay. You see, it opened youtube.com. It opened youtube.com. And now it is on page the pause, right? Let me just run it. And it got finished, right? It got finished. Yeah, it ran, right? Okay. Now you might be okay. Now let's do one more thing, right? I will again open a page. Okay, again I will again open a page. Right. Let's again open a page called P2 on the same context, right? Let's see what will happen now. And again, let me again write the code over here, right? Let's see what happens here, right? Let's see what happens here. So the event is getting triggered twice, right? Getting triggered twice. Here also. So in the earlier case, the event was registered. The event got fired, and third, the action was taken, which is this part. Now again, I'm doing what? The listener was already registered, right? See, this is the first tab where YouTube has opened up. Okay. If you see, the second tab is opened up, but there is nothing happening there. There is nothing happening there, right? It is not happening there. Okay. Why it did not open YouTube here? Why this event is not fired on this part here again? See, that is what I'm trying to explain. Okay. See this. Let me just very quickly do this. I'll just take 5 more minutes, please. Sorry for extending the call. I'll just take 5 more minutes. I want to find this up. This is an important difference, right? Which will also come into the picture when we discuss about pages. So there also we have to have two different types of event mechanisms. So let me draw the difference here, right? There's a difference. When you say browser.on, right, or context.on, and when you say wait for event, let me just write it here, right? Context.on. First of all, the difference is in the structure of the function. You define the event here, right? Event which has to be taken, the event part. Here also you do the same stuff. You define the event, right? In this case, you define the action, right? Action has to be here only. Here, no actions, right? It does not take input for action, right? First difference. This is the first difference, right? Second difference, the purpose, right? Which is the most important part here. Why would you choose this and why would you choose this one? This behavior, right? Here, right? It is like you are registering an event which will get triggered every time. Triggered every time event occurs. This will get triggered every time event occurs, right? Okay. So let's say you were using page here, right? Page here. What happened was you said context dot new page, and you said you okay, you said new page, and then you said let p1, right? And you said p1. Okay, you did this thing, right? As soon as you do this, right, what happened was this event, whatever action you have taken, let's say the action which you defined was this p, and you said p dot go to YouTube, let's say, right? YouTube.com. You said this part. What happened here was you registered the listener, the event was fired, right? The event was fired, and the third thing was the action. Action is defined here, right? This is the action, right? So what will happen is it will open the context was already there. It opened to that page. As soon as you said new page here, right? This was opened up, and here it will go here, right? It will get access to P. What is P? The page which you opened up, this one, right? This page, and this will be sitting inside the page P object. And you said P dot go to YouTube, right? This got fired. Now let's look at the behavior here, right? The first step, you registered for the event. Second step, you say context dot new page, right? As soon as you do this, right, the event got fired. Third, action needs to be taken. Action cannot be specified here. Action needs to be specified somewhere here. So the difference here is, first of all, again, right, wait for event depending on what kind of event you are listening, right? So I was listening to page event. This will return me a page object. Let me collect it. Let P. So I'm collecting P here, right? P, and now I will say new P dot go to, right? Go to, and I'm hitting the URL youtube.com. Now understand the code here, right? In the earlier case, right, you just wrote the code once, which is the action. You just define the action once, right? Every time the event occurs, the action will be performed automatically, right? But in this case, right, wait for event. Here, the action which you're defining, right, is as per your need, and you need to be aware when this action needs to be taken, right? When this action needs to be done. Okay. Here it is just waiting for the event to happen, right? It is just waiting for the event to occur. Whenever the event will occur, right? Whenever the event will occur, whenever that happens, right? This will be fired. But it will only get fired once. Once and once only, right? Here it will be fired multiple times. It can fire multiple times depending on how many times the event is occurring. But here this will only happen once, and this is more like a controlled way, right? Let's take one example. Let's take just one simple example. Let's say there is a web page on which let's say there are two web pages, right? Two kind of website. One website here, right? P. Let's say here, right? There's a problem that every now and then a dialog box opens up, right? A dialog box opens up which needs to be closed, right? Which needs to be closed again and again, right? This is one problem. Let's say there is a second page which is more like an enterprise application. You hit that URL, right? And here, right, there also the dialog box will occur, right? But here on this page, you are aware that at what time, at what that let's say I will hit this button, and only on that instance the dialog will open, right? It is not that it is on its free will that it will come and go and every time, right? It will be controlled, right? Here the dialog opens only on the only on the only on some specific cases, right, which you are aware, right? So there you're more controlled, right? Now if you want to deal with this where dialog is appearing anytime, right, anytime, and here you know the specific time at which it will occur, right? Or let's say event on which this dialog appears, right? So if you have a problem like this where it can occur anytime and you would like to close it, you should use this part, this event mechanism, where you define the event once, right? And whenever that event occurs, right, it will automatically trigger the code and it will take care of it. But if you have the this particular case, right, where the event, right, the event you are aware, right, that okay, if you clicked on this button then the dialog box will open, right, and I need to do something for it, but the dialog box can take some time, let's say a minute or two, right, to open up. So for that case you should use wait for event. Okay, and you can use dialog instead of page, right? There is an event for it, it's called dialog, I believe, right, which you can use. Okay, so what will happen here is whenever this dialog event occurs, right, which will happen in this case, you can define the action which needs to be taken on it. Okay, right? But mind you, here, right, you have to write the code in the sequence properly. You expect that you clicked on something and then you will get the page. Then you need to write the code after this, right? The action item. Okay, and since this is written once, this will be get triggered only once. Next time if you open a page again, right, this piece of code will not run again. If you want this to run again, you will have to write it again, p.goto. But the problem here, one more problem here is the p thing, right? This p thing, this is the p part, right? The p part, you are getting it from wait for event, right? Wait for event, right, will only get triggered once, and due to which, right, this p object is still assigned to this p, right, the first p, the new page, right? This whenever this new page got triggered, right, this event got fired and then page object was formed, it was assigned to p, right? It might be getting too much for you, but let me just I will revise this again, okay, tomorrow. But let me just tell you, when you hit the URL for the first time, context.new page, when you did this, right, you got this page here, right, and you got it assigned into the p part. This is what p is pointing to, and you said p2.goto, so it will go and hit the YouTube here, right, YouTube URL. When you again said context.new page, again you might expect that this wait for event is fired, but that is not what is happening. Okay, that is not what is happening. This will only run once. Okay, this will only run once. So what happens here is, if you do p2.goto, right, it is not hitting this URL. This will not go to this tab. It is still pointing to the earlier one. And you say YouTube here again, right, it will again just reload on the same tab, and nothing is happening here. And that's why you saw something like this here. It reloaded YouTube twice on the same tab, but not here. Okay, and if you look at the code again, see the code, try to understand the code. This is the registering of the listener. Here the action is there, here the event is happening, and here you are taking the action, right, on the event, right? If you look at p, right, you are saying p.goto. What is p here? P, which was returned as a part of the event, right? And this event was what? For page, right? So this page, the object of this page was assigned to this p, right? And it was hitting the URL, which is the first tab. When you said p2 equals to context.new page, a new tab was opened up. But mind you, at this point, this was never fired. This never got fired again. It fired only once. It fired, and p was is still pointing to what? The same p1 object, right? The first tab. Okay. So when you did this part, it is still doing on the same tab and not on the second tab. That's why second tab is still blank. One last thing, wait for event returns your promise, right? It returns your promise, but I have not used await here. I have not used await here. Why? I have not used await here. Why? The reason is, right, if I would have used await here, right, it would wait for this event to occur, right? It will keep on waiting for this. Why? Because it returns your promise, and promise await does what? Await keeps on holding, right, until the promise gets resolved. What happens here is when you said wait for event, the promise was fired, but the status of the promise was unfilled, right? I mean that is pending, right? Pending state, right? Pending state. If you put await here, right, what will happen is it will wait unless it is either resolved or rejected, right? I don't want to do that. I want to remain in the pending state. When the promise will be resolved, when the event would be fired. When is the event getting fired? At this part. As soon as this gets fired, right, it receives the call, right, and here the promise is resolved, right? Promise is resolved, right? So it is after this line the promise is resolved, right? So I am using await here. I am awaiting for the P to receive a resolved promise. As soon as I receive it, I know if I use P now, I will be able to function on that new tab. Okay, and that's why it is written like this. Okay, I would again will revisit this tomorrow. Okay, I'll spend some time on it, but I would expect, right, to please try this at your end and try to understand the difference between the two again. Wait for event and context on. As I said, context.on is created if you want to run the event multiple times, as many times as the event will occur. Wait for event is more of a controlled way of managing the event, and it will only trigger once, right, as per your part, right? And this last important part here is, since it triggers only once, right, P will always be accessing the first event, right? Okay, the first event only, because it got triggered only once. But in this case, this page object, right, which you specify here, right, P, this will every time it will receive the object of the new event, right? And the last part is the await. You do not have to use await here, although it returns your promise. Why? Because we want this to be fired and the promise to be in the pending state. We would like to and it will only get resolved once the event is triggered, right? And then we'll use await to access it and work on it. Okay, I know this is too much for a single day, but please try to go back and revise this. We'll start from here only tomorrow. Okay, let's stop here, right? This is too much for today. I think let's pass this away. Any questions as of now? I know there could be questions on this part apart from this.
No questions.
Okay.
No, events were quite clear now.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Right. Please try to practice this part also, right? Wait for event. I'll just revise it tomorrow. Okay. And
Sure.
then our browser context is also done. We'll move to pages part tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.